We recently waterproofed our shower using RedGard, and I want to share our experience as well as two major pitfalls that are reasons that some people do not have success with RedGard. RedGard is one of the most popular waterproofing membranes out there. You can find it at your local hardware store. It comes in both the liquid applied version, which is what we're going to talk about today, as well as a fabric version. So RedGard can be used as a waterproofing membrane. It can be used for shower pans. It can be used as a crack isolation membrane. This can even be used for pools or steam rooms as well. So it's a very versatile product. When you're working with RedGard, definitely follow the instructions. This is not just like painting over a drywall. This has very special application procedures. So first of all, you want to make sure that your substrate is proper for this material. So it can stick to a lot of things. It can stick to drywall, it can stick to cement board, it can even stick to certain types of plywood, but definitely confirm that your substrate will adhere to RedGard. For a list of all the suitable substrates for RedGard, I've attached the technical data sheet in the description below. For highly absorptive materials such as cement board or concrete, you're going to want to pre-prime your surface. So you can do that by simply mixing 4 parts water and 1 part RedGard, and that'll get you a very dilute mixture, and then you can go ahead and either paint or spray that on. So all that's doing is permeating into the substrate to allow the actual RedGard to adhere better. Failing to prime your surface is probably the #1 pitfall. A lot of even professional tilers don't do this, and then if you forget to prime it, then your RedGard, when you apply it at 100% concentration, may not stick and it may delaminate from the surface. You may get pinholes and cracks, and you're just chasing all kinds of issues that could have been easily avoided. We chose to apply the RedGard using a disposable paintbrush. It can also be applied using a roller or a spray gun or a trowel. When applying it, it's important to make sure that you get a very complete cohesive coverage. You want it to be thicker than you would apply paint, but you don't want it to be gobbed on there and super thick. Otherwise, as it dries, it will shrink and that will lead to cracks and pinholes. So to achieve the final thickness, you can just apply additional coats after the original coat has dried. Each coat that you apply should be perpendicular to the previous coat to make sure that any brush lines or anything don't line up and leave you with divots. One of the marketing claims for RedGard is that it does not require any sort of support for gaps up to 1/8 of an inch. That's that crack isolation membrane feature it has. So for any flat surfaces that have small gaps, you could theoretically leave those without any support. The second pitfall is not using the appropriate reinforcement for any of those edges or seams. I still chose to use a 6-inch alkali resistant mesh on all of those joints, and then anytime you have a change of plane, it's highly recommended that you use a mesh as well. So that mesh will be applied immediately after you do your very first coat while it's still wet, and we use the trowel to press it in and get it a nice smooth surface, and then subsequent coats we could just paint over that mesh tape. There's another wire mesh type of material that is sometimes used in either drywall repairs or cement board projects. We do not want to use that in RedGard. The mesh is not fine enough to really adhere well to the RedGard, as well as the fact that it's usually not coming in that 6-inch width. So the fabric is going to be more flexible and much more forgiving with RedGard. We have a link below to the proper material. The thickness required according to the ANSI code is a little bit more stringent for the shower pan itself than it is for the waterproofing of the walls. So they kind of give you a shorthand on the TDS that you need about 1 gallon per 40 square feet for the shower pan itself, whereas 1 gallon can cover about 55 square feet for the walls. For the way we were applying it, we managed to do about 3 to 4 coats on the floor to achieve the proper thickness versus about 2 coats on the walls. When applying the RedGard, it initially shows up as sort of a pinkish color, and then when it dries about an hour and a half later or so, it'll turn red. So once it's dried and maybe let it sit for a little bit, then you can go ahead and apply later coats. After applying each coat, do a visual check to see if you see any pinholes or cracks, and then be sure to fill those in with subsequent coats. When doing the flood testing, you want to make sure that it's had time to fully cure. We usually let it sit overnight before doing that flood testing, and if you're interested on how to do that, you can check our link on the screen below. After you've completed your flood test, let the shower dry out, and then it is ready for tiling. I was pleasantly surprised by my experience with RedGard. I know there are some more premium options out there, and some purists like to use the more solid membranes instead of liquid applied, but I think it was very easy to apply. The instructions were straightforward. There's not a lot of odors. Even the cleanup was relatively easy, and it passed my flood test with flying colors. So I have no reservations about using RedGard or recommending it to anybody else. If you guys have used RedGard, or if you have any other experiences with other waterproofing membranes, I'd be happy to hear about it. Please put that in the comment section below. Thanks, guys.